be the queen of battle. I thought that was rather strange. But when you think about it many, many times, you'll find that the standard bow that we use, also called a kun, the standard bow that we use is for practice mostly, but also it can be used as a walking staff. And many people just carry it. It's a stick. It's not expensive. It's not hard to make one. Well, if you're going to make one like this, yeah, it might be hard. I know it's out of my abilities. But you can make it out of things, and it's made of wood. Like I said, it's cheap and expensive. Why would it be the queen of battle? Why would people refer to it? Why would someone refer to it as that? Well, I have the feeling, the very distinct feeling, that he wasn't referring just to what we use when we practice all the time now. When you think about it, the stick is the stick is common throughout the world. I wanted to say a fancy word, but boy, that word refused to come out of my mouth. Truthfully, my father, as hard as this is to believe, my father, when he went to the university, learned what they called quarterstaff. Now, by the time I got to the university, I learned the same one he did. By the time I got there, they weren't teaching quarterstaff. I got to learn gymnastics, and of course we had archery and fencing, which I enjoyed quite a bit. The quarterstaff, they are not teaching any longer, at least while I was at the University of Missouri. So it was taught up until recently, in reality, as far as history goes, in the universities even. And the English had what they called a quarterstaff. Now the size of the quarterstaff, truthfully, I don't know. I know that there are different thicknesses. There are different ways these things are made. Yehoshua has one that is octagonal and about 7 foot high. This one is supposed to be 6 foot. In fact, as I get older and older and shrink more and more, it gets higher in my estimation. But this was a standard thing that Okinawans, who actually were quite a bit shorter than me in their day. Nowadays they aren't, but they were quite a bit shorter. This was fairly well higher than their head. It's a little bit higher than my head now. Admittedly, I went into the Army at 5'11", came out at 5'10", lost an inch in height. Thank you very much. But this is the standard height, 6 feet, that we utilize now. Fact is, in the Orient, they also had other instruments. You know about the yari. You know about, spears, nunkebo. You've heard a lot of these names. They come with different metal pieces on them. So you can put a metal head on this and a sticky end point. In reality, they actually had on both ends, not quite so like the first end, but they had another piece which you would drive into the earth so that you would have a nice base to hold your weapon with. But they had halberds, they had all kinds of weapons, and they weren't short like this, a lot of them. Many of them were much higher, much longer. Spears, for example, when you, and believe it or not, as hard as this is for people to understand in martial arts, the samurai had firearms. Well, yeah, they had firearms. But when you have a firearm, such as the muzzle loaders in the past, well, it takes a while to reload that thing. You have one shot, kaboom, and then you've got a bunch of time where you have to load your powder ball, ram it down, get everything ready, get back and shoot again. And in that time period, your enemy can travel quite a bit of distance towards you. So normally, for example, in the West, what they would have was they would have spearmen behind their archers. And in a lot of other armies around the world, they would have spearmen behind their front line troops. Their spears would generally be poking out over the shields of the people that were on the front line. This was in order to protect them from other things that came up. A good example, the cavalry, men on horseback. If you have people on horseback coming at you, one of the best things you can do is to have long spears that you can put out in front of your soldiers, not like this little short thing, but that you can dig into the soil and hold them very sternly and put them down to a level to where the horses and the riders will have to go impale themselves on these weapons. It's a fairly decent, not 100%, but it is a fairly decent defense. You also had your artillery to back your front lines. Now we can talk about archery. One of the things most people don't understand also is, besides archers, one of the main things they used in ancient time were slings. You know, the kind like that little supposed youth, David, when he went against the big clunker Goliath. Well, David and Goliath are a story, and most people miss the entire understanding of that particular story. Oh, he only had a sling. Well, believe it or not, exactly what happened to Goliath is exactly what the slings are for. They're like artillery. They had heavier than normal rocks, or metal balls for that matter, that they flung with just one or two swings, because these people did this as a norm. Today, you will find where I live, there are shepherds, and how do they control their flocks? Well, they don't use dogs, they use their slings, and they throw rocks, and this causes the sheep and the goats to move in the direction they would like them to go. So the sling backed up your spearmen, and your spearmen were very important. With an untamed bow, proper length, you could yank a person off his horse as he got by. The same with many, many other of the pole arms. This is essentially a pole arm, however, it doesn't have any parts on it. When using this particular weapon, one of the things you will be able to do is strike, but you don't grip it like this and hit with it in those kinds of manners. You actually slide it as you make your movements. So I'm back here, and as I come forward, I start moving the bow with this hand. And as it comes around, this one slides and allows me to poke, strike, or I can even shift sides the same way. And notice I put it alongside my arm. That, unfortunately, kind of degrades the strike a bit. But boom, on this side, I'm not really strong, and I don't want it accidentally hitting my knee. So occasionally you will strike like that. But normally, it's going to be more along this line, but this way you can slide the bow and lengthen it to whichever direction you need. You're expected to be moving your hand, sliding the bow, changing distancing, however you might have to do it. You can strike over your head if you want. Boom. You can, of course, come down low to strike. And, of course, you can poke. In fact, you can drop to your knees and shoot up, as Ogata taught me, into their throat. Right down the line. Mouth. Now, this is the way you use the bow. Boom. With two hands. You can put it underneath and hit in this manner. You can do that. You can hit in this manner. Doesn't matter if you hit underneath or if you hit over, except you get a little more oomph if you get that. A little more oomph out there. Possibly in here too. But the fact is, you don't do ignorant crap with your bow. These guys who are sitting there twirling them, spinning them, oh, it's just so, ha ha ha. Oh, Lord. That's nice. I mean, you can twirl it around your body. I learned how to do that, yeah. Patrick McCarthy showed me how to do that. Woo, I can do it. It's fun. It's interesting. It's an exercise. Fighting, no. As soon as you sit there and do something stupid, like swinging your bow around with one hand, it's going to flat get knocked out of your hands by anybody who knows what they're doing. Somebody sitting there twirling their stuff, all you have to do is step in, bam! Hit their bows, it's coming up and around. They don't have the grip on it, it'll just flop right on out. Somebody sitting there twirling it around, all that crap, all you have to do is step in straight, and you go right through that twirling stuff. They set up a pattern, and you just wait. As the top starts swirling down, you move in and strike. Thump. The bottom half will never have time to get up there in time to get you. He won't be able to overcome all of that force circling around here in order to drive something out toward you. It's ludicrous. It's almost as bad as the stupid nunchaku swinging around like this. Woo, 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 woo. You know how many times I watched Ogata and somebody sitting there woo, doing that, just reach in there and yank them out from their hands? So many times. It was unreal. So, when you're working with a bow, you have to move. You can't have death grip on it. And the other thing is, when we are striking, we don't go clack, 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 clack against the bow. If he's got a bow, you go clack, clack, but you hit his hands and break them. You don't hit bow to bow. You hit bow to hand. Bow to, if he's stupid enough to keep his elbow out there, to elbow. You strike him. You don't hit his bow. You don't go clack, 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 clack. That is retarded to do something like that. He comes in, bam. Now what would happen if I did hit above his hand, here on the bow? I hit here, bang. Well, what I do is I immediately slide right on down his bow, just boom, and hit his hand with it. And then with the other side, bam, I can drive the bow right out of his hands and thump. It's over. When your bow strikes his bow, you slide immediately to break his hand. We do it deliberately. Actually, honestly, we do it deliberately. We deliberately hit his hand because one hand on a bow is not going to get the job done. It's just not. So, practice all of your flippity-doo stuff, all of you want. It's okay. It's fun. It's, well, fun. But don't plan on doing it against somebody that actually knows what they're doing. Because all it's going to do is end up with you being on the losing side. Believe me, you get hit with this a couple of times, probably, the chances of you getting back up are not very good. Because one of the things you do in your forms is it goes down, circle, and thunk. And that thunk is usually into the head of the individual. So anyway, that's my ranting on the bow. Bow katas are beautiful. They're fun. They develop good muscles, coordination, hand-eye coordination. Oh Lord, they're good for that. Very, very good for that. And if you're going to fight with one, oh, prepare to go to jail. I mean, that's flat out. It's not acceptable nowadays to go out and beat people up with weapons. Just not acceptable whatsoever. If you learn how to avoid all of these circumstances, all these situations where people are trying to creep on you and things like that, if you learn how to recognize them, you'll know how to avoid them, and you won't get in a fight. And you won't be subject to the law. It's very rare that somebody is prosecuted for running away. Very, very rare. Well, as long as you didn't do a crime and then run away. Then they get you also. Leave the scene. But other than that, try to maintain a happy attitude, positive attitude, and remember, you're important, very important to the world. Every single one of you. You're very, very important. So keep that in mind. When you're feeling grumpy, remember, you do count. You count very much. We need you. The world needs you, as long as you're a decent human being. With that, this is again David Natan. I am the Shuseki, I got complained about because I say it too fast, Shuseki Shihan of Ryukyu Kenpo Kobujutsu Rengokai. Oops. Excuse me. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's right. There too. But anyway, the end of the video will be a little thing telling you where you can find out more information about us. For seminars, I'm available. If you want to bring me over and have me teach you, I will work with you and definitely try to help the instructor not only understand, but also incorporate what I teach into his teachings. If he so wants. I'm not real picky. And my idea and my object is not necessarily to change what it is that you do. Just to give you new ideas so you can incorporate them in your own way. That's what's important. You are the important one. Try to keep that in mind.